Good morning, everyone. Welcome into Saturday morning coaches show. And we've got Clark Cipoletta with us to talk about Wildcats basketball, and Alexi Upton will be talking about Wildcats soccer a little bit later on. And quite a bit to talk about this time of year, and we'll try to dive into it as fast as we can. Lady Cat soccer won at Texas High last night, had a tough time there. They won 2-1. Trailed at the half 1-0, but played much better in the second half and got a couple of goals to win there. They're 3-1 in district play, season record 7-1. So good job there by Javier Aguayo. This week, hosting Royce City on Tuesday and then at Greenville on Friday. And that's the end of the first half and the beginning of the second half so quickly in this little 5-opponent district. Or 6-team district. You're there before you know it. Wildcats baseball, they lost 3 out of 4 of their scrimmages, so they've had very little time on the field. They did get a scrimmage in Hallsville. They had one scheduled for last night at home against North Lamar. That got canceled. So the Wildcats will be opening the regular season for better or for worse coming up Thursday through Saturday. Tyler Lee tournament on that field that Coach Hammock loves there at Mike Carter Field in Tyler. Lady Cat softball opened the regular season on Friday in their own tournament that was being played in Grand Saline and Emory and Mount Pleasant because fields are wet here, and so looking for artificial turf for the most part and a good draining field in the case of Mount Pleasant. Somehow that field always gets ready. And Lady Cat Park may be ready, but the Coleman Park, I think, is very wet over there. So it hasn't been good drying weather for these fields. Lady Cats 1-2 after games yesterday, lost to Prairie Land, defeated Pleasant Grove. That was an exciting win with a walk-off win, and then a loss to Grand Saline. So 1-2 today, 9:30 game this morning, Wills Point, and 3:30 this afternoon, Gilmer, and both of those games will be at Grand Saline. Powerlifting, the Lady Cats powerlifting team lifted on Friday, and the Wildcats will be lifting on Saturday in Commerce. Wildcats and Lady Cats golf will be at Brookhaven Masters Country Club in Dallas on Monday, and hoping for some better weather. They've had a tough time, as has tennis. They haven't been out on the courts very much, but they did play at a John Tyler tournament on Friday in Tyler, and they will have their own Sulphur Springs tournament coming up, JV on Tuesday, and a varsity tournament on Friday. In track, Wildcats and Lady Cats, they were at a tri-meet in Lindale with Jacksonville last Thursday, and we'll have the Sulphur Springs meet coming up on Friday, beginning with hopefully field events. Hopefully it'll stay dry. Looks like it may be a fairly decent weather week. We've got our fingers crossed. And so the Sulphur Springs meet for track coming up, and that's everything. Excuse me. And now talking with Clark Cipoletta, and by district coming up with I guess the third place team from District 16. And what can you tell us about the Lufkin Panthers?
They're really good. We faced them in the regional quarters last year. They returned 3 key guys off that team. The district MVP from last year, a big guy who can really play inside out, who's as good as a post as we've seen this year. So he'll be a tough cover. They have another kid that's a long, lanky guard who can really shoot the 3 and create for others. And then the quarterback kid for him's a really good athlete and can do some things on the basketball court as well. So they have a lot of pieces. They're probably not as good defensively. I thought last year they were probably the best defensive team we played all year. They lost some of those really athletic guys, but then they added some better offensive guys. So they're better offensively this year, in my opinion, as well. So it's going to be a really tough round first game for us.
I remember that Keyston Willis had a very good ball game against him. I think he had 24, and Xavier Cork had 7. Of course, those points have moved on to college courts now, where they're having good seasons. But we certainly, we've proven ourselves. You know, you can't just say, well, we lost those guys, but we've certainly proven ourselves with a lot of tough teams. So, in your opinion, how is the team playing?
I think we're playing really well. I know we've kind of been up and down some in district. I don't know if they got bored with the fact that you know, you play such a tough preseason schedule, and then when you get into district, it's not a ranked opponent every single night. I don't know if our kids did a good enough job, or us as a staff did a good enough job in getting those guys up every single night, because we kind of played up and down. But I think we're focused, we're locked in at this point. I thought we played really well against Lindale our last few games, so you know, I just hope that carries on and moving forward.
Is it the kind of team that can kind of turn it off and turn it on a little bit? You know, when they like when they enter those tournaments, when you go to the Whataburger tournament, do you see just kind of maybe an edge or something that develops or something? Because I mean, gosh, those guys were playing so well game after game against some, you know, tough team after tough team coming at you.
Right, and that's not a good quality I want our kids to have, be able to turn it on and turn it off. But I think this group has a little bit of that. They can really get up, and I think they do play with the chip on their shoulder. They don't back down. They're not scared of some name across a jersey. I think they believe that they could play with anybody, and on any given night, I think anybody thinks they could play with us too. So it's just one of those groups that isn't going to back down, and especially in big games, I think, you know, they really rise to the occasion.
Yeah, you go through all the pre-district and all that, and you play all those teams, and you see a lot of teams you usually don't see. Maybe, you know, when's the last time we played at Atascocita? Maybe
Right.
like never. But, you know, you see those kind of schools from the Houston area. But then you get into district, and it's family. You know, oh, there's Texas High. We know those guys. There's Greenville. We know those guys, and they know you.
Right.
And so it makes it more familiar, and perhaps, you know, again, you know, you're not going to awe any of those guys unless, you know, you're beating the best teams by 50 points, you know, and all this kind of stuff. But that might get their attention, but otherwise they think, we can play with these guys. We've done it for years.
Yeah, and a lot of those kids, they come to our open gyms, and some of our kids go to their open gyms. So they, like you said, they really know each other, and they're not going to back down, and they're going to want to beat us way more than an Atascocita would want to beat us. So you got that target on your back as well. And in district, there's no such thing as an easy game in our district. Our district's really competitive, and I thought Greenville's still one of the better teams, and they didn't even get in. So that just goes to show you the competitiveness of our 15-5A district. So it's just one of those occasions where you just gotta, you know, hope for the best and come out on the right foot, and I think we have.
All right, very good. Let's take our first internal break. Back with more with Clark Cipoletta right after this. And back here on Saturday Morning Coaches Show, talking with Coach Clark Cipoletta. Coach, you have been off the court since Tuesday. How are practices going? Are you seeing, you know, kind of that focus and attention that you're looking for?
I really have. I've been proud of our guys. We dive into a lot of film, and we're very scout specific, and even with some extra time where you almost spend a week, you know, 6 days before you're going to prep or before you're going to play again, we throw a lot of information at our guys and go over a lot of different scenarios. And I thought our group is really locked in. You can tell they're a mature group. They've been there before. They're not bored by sitting there watching, you know, several minutes of film. They're not sitting there bored with walking through Lufkin plays and different situations that they're going to throw at us. So it's been pleasing as a coach. I think we're going to go into Monday, you know, prepared.
Very good. Somebody pointed out to me, I tried to look at the brackets this morning, and I guess they're still, UIL still putting them together. They're still awfully blank. At least they were on my computer. And but somebody told me that we're in the same group of 8 or something with Lancaster, the #1 team in Class 5A. And my attitude was kind of like, you know, more than likely, if your eyes are on the prize, you're going to have to go through them at some point anyway. You're going to have to face them. We didn't last year. Frisco Lone Star rose up against them and shocked them, and we ended up facing them in the regional final.
It's just one of those things where we just take it a game at a time. We're not focused on Red Oak or West Mesquite, who we could see in the second round, or Lancaster and Marshall maybe that you could see in the third round, because there's so many competitive teams, and any team can lose on any given night. But we know for a fact, based on our pre-district schedule, we don't care who we face. I feel like we're prepared enough to play against any team, whether they're 5A, 6A. I think we've proved that this year. So, and going forward, if we are fortunate enough to play Lancaster in the third round, I think our guys will be prepared enough, and they'll believe in themselves enough. They'll play with that chip on their shoulder they've played with all year, and it'll just be another game.
And you wonder, could they would have to play, but are they any better than some of the teams, Colleen, Ellison,
Right.
or some of the Louisville, or you name it, the 7 schools that we played that were ranked in Class 6A, and we beat 4 out of 7. So you wonder, but again, Lancaster, I think they kind of play that schedule too. They played some
for sure.
some of those. It seemed like maybe Mansfield, Timberview, or somebody like that. They mix with that crowd too.
Yeah, they're really good. We got to see them in a couple of tournaments, and they've played some out-of-state tournaments, and they're one of the more traditional basketball schools in Texas, if not the most traditional basketball school in 5A. So they're just one of those schools that year in and year out, they're always going to be good, and you're always going to see them in the rankings, and they're always going to make a run, to a state title. And you just hope, your group can match up and face up well with them. I think the team of Atascocita, a team like Shadow Creek, they're very similar in size. They're similar in schemes and philosophy. So I think it did us really good in playing those teams. So if we're fortunate enough, once again, to face a Lancaster, I think we've seen kids that move the way they move, kids that shoot it the way they shoot it, and kids that guard the way they guard. So I think we'll be prepared.
Intriguing that you mentioned Marshall. Last time we saw them, they were not really very good.
Right.
We were in the district with them, and they tried some slow-down game that I still haven't figured out. I think they wanted the score to be 4-2 or something. But obviously they get some good players, and they really were a very good district team. Before we were, really. Right. And I think that was part of the friction too, was we kind of took the crown away from them, and passing of the torch and all that. But that would be intriguing, but that's, again, another one down the road, as you want to stay focused on Lufkin and all that.
Yeah, for sure. We'll stay ahead of scout, like our coaches. We've already finished the Lufkin scout, so we are preparing on the coaching side of things for a West Mesquite or for a Red Oak, if we're fortunate enough to play those. But our mind and everything that we are doing is focused on Lufkin, because Lufkin's a really good team, and you can't overlook them. If you do, you're going to be coming home Monday night upset. So we got to really lock in and just really prepare and try to come away with the win.
All right, very good. And it's just that time of year. It's a wonderful time of year, isn't it? It's in playoffs time.
It is. It's what you've worked on and prepped for every day in the summer when you came up here, and all those sleepless nights and all those mornings you've given up, not only for our kids but for our coaches. This is the time of the year where it counts, and everything comes into play where it's win or go home, and you just hope you have the best team on that night. And it's, like you said, one of the most exciting times of the year, probably the most exciting for me. But for our kids, I think they really enjoy it as well.
After the loss to Mount Pleasant, obviously very disappointing, but and as it became a real possibility that we might finish second, which we did, but you never know, because they had some really tough games down the stretch that they barely came out alive in. Like Greenville, they won by 4. I think Royce City was ahead of them by 1 after 3 quarters, and then just had trouble in the 4th quarter. And Lindale was hanging in there with them too. At one point, I think that game got away from Lindale, maybe kind of late too. But a lot of that kind of stuff. But I was very impressed with what you had to say, and that there's more than one way there's more than one path to get where you want to go. And you may have think that you're going to go this way, but sometimes you have to go the other way.
Right, and that's just the nature of sports, and we can't control it necessarily which path we're going to take, but whichever path we're given, and that's right now with the second place seed, we're going to hit it rolling ahead, and we're going to go into it with full confidence, thinking that we can come out the region and be the best team on any given night. So we're not really too worried about being the 1 seed, and the 2 seed would have been nice, winning a district title. That's something we came into the season trying to do. But from this point on, we're trying to win the region now. So just different things in front of us, and just got to go at it one step at a time.
Very good group of seniors that you had the crowd got a chance to kind of say bye to.
Mm-hmm.
You say you think it's going to be, I can't imagine, I don't know, ever remember us playing a playoff game in our own gym. Very, very rare,
Mm-hmm.
but, I guess somebody could be insistent on a home and home flip or
Yeah.
something. You just never know who you're going to be dealing with. But probably saying goodbye to the home crowd, but
Right.
what a good bunch, kind of a special bunch. I guess they all are after a while, but then these guys, one player moving back after having lived here before, and the other 3 very deep in your program since they were freshmen. Well, I think Day was a sophomore when he came back.
Yeah, these kids, they've meant a lot to me. I can remember watching them. I was watching Little Dribblers last night, and Day and Cam and Brock were coaching my 11-year-olds team, so it was kind of cool to see, because I could think back when they were that age, and I can remember Day playing Little Dribblers and Cameron, and I can remember seeing them thinking, man, this is a good group. I can't wait to get this group into high school, and they were one of the best, if not the best, junior high groups I've ever had. They were so deep, and unfortunately, 5 or 6 of those kids move off who were really good in that class, but these are kind of the last frontiers who survived it, and they poured their hearts and soul into Wildcat basketball, and we wouldn't be where we are today, without those 4. So I'm always I'll forever be thankful for those guys. I'll always be part of my family, and I hate to see them go, but I think they're going on to bigger and better things, and I know they're going to do amazing things and moving forward.
Yeah, you see these players even at a little dribbler's age, and you already begin to see some talent and things that you say, hey, that's pretty nice. I think back to Grayson McClure, as he was a point guard on the freshman team for Philip Manning was coaching him,
Right.
and you told me that he would probably be on the varsity the next year, and you said, hey, he's going to be really good. You saw something in him. And of course, he made himself good with a lot of hard work, but you saw that in him, saw that potential very early on.
When I see a kid who really loves the game of basketball, I always think they could be good, because I know they're going to put the time in that it takes to be special. And I have a couple of younger guys that are freshmen and 8th graders, and that I see right now. I'm like, okay, that's going to be Grayson McClure in a few years, or this kid's going to be special because he lives in the gym, and he's really dedicated to getting better and doing it the right way. So Grayson, Cameron, Brock, Day, those are just few of the guys who've really bought into what we put in place, and they love the gym. When we would in practice, they would stay up there and put in extra shots. They would get there before practice. So anytime you have kids that are willing to do more, you're going to get more out of them. And I knew with those 4, they could be special that way.
And of course, when they first come up to varsity, they spend a lot of time on the bench, especially with the players that we had ahead of them. But, some of those guys moving on, and because of circumstances, it kind of accelerated the growth of Day and Cameron to bring them to the front, maybe a little bit faster than they would have otherwise behind so many good players. Because you could see that champing at the bit going on. I know you used to get Day as a sophomore in kind of as much as you could, and he always kind of, was really good at scoring when given the opportunity. And we all remember Cameron. You put him at the end of a game one time, and he just went crazy. Scored 10, 15 points. I can't remember, but he showed, hey, I can play too if given the chance.
Absolutely, and the kids these kids have been really special about. Not a lot of kids like to sit as sophomores, and all four of these kids have sat, or three of these kids have sat as sophomores, and they just kind of waited on their role, but they were patient. They didn't get upset, or they didn't try to go move schools because they weren't getting playing time or blame the coaches. They really just focused on getting better each and every day, and when given the opportunity as a sophomore, they made the most of it. And then when their time came, they were completely ready. So I always say, be there before you get there. Always be prepared. So if I call your number, you're ready to go, instead of I'm calling your number and now you're like, what's going on? So those guys just did a great job of being ready for the moment, and then they made the most out of their moments when given a chance.
And then we get our 1 year with Justin Brock, and he seems like such a steady hand for you out there, a guy that just, is a good, solid player that you can really count on.
Yeah, I remember him in junior high. He was one of the top 5 kids we had down there, and always started on the 8th grade team when he was here, and then moved off. I was kind of hurt because I knew what a great, not only basketball player, but a great kid and a great leader he was. So we're fortunate enough to get him back as a senior, and he's that same kid for us. He makes others around him better. He's unselfish. He plays really hard. He's a very smart player, and he's going to give you his all. And we're just forever thankful for him, coming back, and I'm thankful to have the opportunity to coach him his senior year.
All right, Coach, very good. Looking forward to the playoffs, and it's always exciting to go to the gym in one of those situations, and you know you're going to face a good opponent, and it'll be a huge crowd. Lufkin always brags that they can outdraw anybody. Did you hear that, Sulphur Springs?
For sure, they do.
They say they can outdraw anybody anytime, and it was really close last year. I would have given the nod to us, but because we had the bigger side, and it seemed like we had every bit as many people as they had on the other side, which was a smaller side. But they will bring them, and so and I don't have to encourage people to go. Sulphur Springs fans have followed you for years, these last few years, and they're going to be there.
Yeah, we're just we're really grateful for the amount of support we've had, and people have talked about our crowds being so packed, and like you said, Lufkin's one of those crowds that they'll come back and they'll match it on the other side. So it should be a great high school basketball game. We're looking forward to it on Monday night at Tyler Junior College, and just hope everybody can come out and make it and support the Wildcats, and trying to get a win.
And they'll probably have a sign, when you walk in, which one team or the other will be marked, and it's Monday night at 7, I believe, at Tyler Junior College.
Yes, it could be moved back to 7:30.
Okay.
If a doubleheader is scheduled today, they're supposed to call and let us know. I'll shoot it out to you guys in the newspaper.
All right.
But it's either going to be 7 or 7:30 Monday night.
All right, very good. Best of luck, Coach, and I know you got practice this morning, and it's one of your favorite times.
It is. Best time of the year.
What you live for.
Yes, sir.
All right, Coach, thank you very much, and appreciate you, and we'll see your team Monday night.
Thank you.
And that's our basketball report. We'll be back with Alexi Upton talking about Wildcat soccer right after this. And back here on the Saturday morning coaches show, Alexi Upton is here, and Wildcat soccer had a tough one last night with a guy that looked strange prowling the visitor sideline. Jesus De Leon was back at head coach of the boys, actually, at Texas High. This, I believe, his second year maybe with the boys team, after I think he initially went over there as a girls coach, or maybe, I don't know, he might have gone right into the boys coach. But anyway, he's been at Texas High for the last few years, and put a 2-1 win on Coach De Leon, or put the loss on him. But a tough game, Coach, and 2-1. We get it looked for all the worlds like you were headed for PKs. 1:36 left in the second half of overtime, and you get a goal. Tell us about that goal. That had to be exciting on your sideline.
Yeah, I mean, we were just happy that it went in and it was over, because I mean, they're the bottom of the district, and it would have been really disappointing for us to lose that game, or to not get the full points that we needed. A minute 36 later, we would only got 2 points for going into PKs and winning it instead of a full 3.
Lose a valuable point.
And that valuable point is crucial. We're trying to hunt down Mount Pleasant like we always are. So we drop that point, we're done. We're dead in the water, to say. So, really, really great from our kids. I mean, it wasn't their night. They didn't really play that great, but they kept fighting and fighting and fighting, and then we got a goal with a minute 36 left. So, Alejandro Diosdado just kind of tapped one in a bunch of madness. So,
Yeah.
that's good for us. I mean, it's not always pretty. It's not always the best thing, but the fact that your kids are going to be resilient and keep pushing is really what we were looking for there. So.
Alejandro, he kind of has the tendency to hang around the goal, and he gets some of that trash.
Yeah,
and put it right in the
he
net.
is one of those people that kind of just sits in the area, and it comes out to him, and he'll kind of poke it. I mean, he had a chance versus Mount Pleasant with about 45 seconds left, or about 20 seconds left, that had goal written all over it. He just kind of reads kind of bounces in the game well, and he kind of sees it, and it always seems to fall right in his lap. So. Like we said, a little disappointing. We were hoping for a big win and all that, but you can't predict how your games are going to turn out for you. You just got to go in there and win them. So.
Yeah. Player that I thought got off to a really great start, and he got the first goal, was Christian Ramirez, and looked like he had a real good chance for goal number 2, and just kind of missed it. But he really started out like the house was on fire, and he really was doing well for you.
Yeah, he came. We subbed him off at one point, and he goes, "Don't put me back in." I go, "Why would I not put you back in?" And he's like, "Man, I've had like 9 chances, and I've only got 1 goal." And I go, "Hey, man, that's how it is. That's how it is sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's frustrating sometimes. Especially when you're playing a lower level team. You get mad because you think you should be, beating them really bad and handling them, and if it's not going your way, you start getting really frustrated. And I told our kids, hey, calm down, we just be calm and put the game away. We struggle for that. We struggle to do that, and I'm glad that this kind of game came around so we can kind of see those weaknesses that we had in our team. So.
Yeah. The ultimate in frustration, when you miss chance after chance, and then you hit the post. And you had a hit post last night on a player that had a shot that hit the post, and it just, that kind of just a capper on it. At that point, you wonder if you're ever going to, get another goal.
Yeah, Angel Andino, we got him back from we've been missing him for a while for some personal reasons, and so the fact that he got back and he got to get back in the game was really great. And I thought he was going to, walk it off for us, kind of like a walk-off home run, because that was not too much time left in regular time, probably about 5 minutes. And I thought, yeah, there it is right there, and then just dink. And I was just like, oh, come on, man. It was just one of those nights where it seemed like everything that we tried, it just was a hit post or barely wide or keeper save. So it was a little frustrating, but, I mean, we're perfectly fine, and, congrats to the 2 boys that scored and got the win for us. So, that keeps us right where we belong and right near Mount Pleasant, so it's good.
Yeah, glad we didn't have to go into the PKs.
Yeah.
An awful lot of offside calls. Explain, is something that the other team is doing, the way they're playing defense and stuff, that they're kind of luring you into offsides, what I would call it anyway.
Yeah, they're playing what's called an offside trap, and so they kind of stay on your half the field. They try to kind of compress you and make it hard for you to possess the ball and put a lot of pressure on you. It's probably not the smartest thing anybody's ever done. I kind of got outdated in like the 80s and 90s and early 2000s because all you can do is just play the ball over the top if you got fast people and we have tons of speed, and that's what was really frustrating about the night was I was telling our kids, just take a touch and play a long ball over them. Just do that and we're going to be in 24/7. And we just struggled to possess the ball and play, and so it was a little frustrating on our behalf. And I told our kids, hey, you got to be able to read the game and see what's going on and know what people do and know how to beat it. And so just a little different, a little something that they never really seen, and I think that's kind of why it affected them the way it did. So.
After Christian Ramirez's goal, Texas High got even on a penalty kick. What was your thoughts, or what were your thoughts on the call and foul in the box?
Yeah, I mean, it's 100% a foul. That was a hard foul, and I kind of chewed our boy when he came off, and I said, hey man, if he beat you, let him go. If he beats you, just let him go and hope that our keeper makes a save. I go, you already got beat. Don't compound it and make a foul too, because then that's like 2 swords in our back, rather than just one. And that hurts us, and that deflated momentum. They don't ever score a PK. Maybe we finish some of our chances in between then and run away with it. But giving them a goal, it just makes the game that more crazy and that more unpredictable, because now they think, oh yeah, we're right back in it, and so it just made the game a lot harder for us. So.
Yeah, it reminded me when it happened, I was thinking about Noe Ponce. You brought him to the coaches show, and we asked him about defending the PK, and he kind of had that look on his face like, it's impossible,
Yeah.
But he did what he said he would do. He picked a side and he jumped, and of course the kick went the other way, and really just barely tucked inside the post there. It was a pretty close kick, but he did get it.
Yeah.
But that's really, you have to, unless you read something, you just kind of have to pick a spot and go that way.
Yeah, our person that fouled was Christopher Dockweiler. We have a couple guys that were out, with one with the red and one with injury. And the Noe Ponce was actually resting as well too. So that was Elazar Brenna that you covered in football. So that was actually Brenna that tried to save that PK.
Oh, okay.
And he did a really great job. It was a great dive, and he just picked the wrong way. And so it's hard for those guys. It's 50-50. It really is. You can go left or right. And you either get it or you don't. Sometimes you dive the right way and you still don't get it. So, it's a challenge for them. And, it was a good game for us to come and kind of put in some fresh faces and some different people. I think we had that luxury last night that we don't always have. And so, it is hard to save PKs. And like I said, I think it just added to the hype and the craziness of the game because it became 1-1.
Yeah.
And they were just like, they're over there jacked up thinking they're still in it, and our boys are like, God, how do we let that happen? So,
yeah.
But all good. We did what we were supposed to do, and 3-1 for us in district play, finishing the last game in district, and then 9-5-5. We're almost at 10 wins, what we had last year, and still have a ton more games to go. So, we're improving and growing, and that's really what matters for us. So.
All right, very good. Let's take our third internal break. Back with Alexi Upton right after this. And back here on the Saturday morning coaches show. Coach, one thing that kind of dampened enthusiasm last night looked like an injury to Omar Hernandez. It was a terrible looking play where they were racing to the ball, and the keeper gets there a nanosecond before Omar does, and he takes a flip back over the keeper and lands on the ground. That in itself would just kill me or anybody else, but so how's Omar doing? I guess he has to be evaluated.
Yeah, I think they said if it starts getting real bad that he needs to go to some type of doctor today and get it assessed. It's going to swell, it's going to get big, and it's just one of those things where he just collided, and it keeper flipped him over, and it was kind of ugly looking, and you're like, oh God, I hope he's okay. He came off, and he walked out of the stadium on his own, and so I don't think anything's broken or anything like that, but I think it will be just a real bad swelling, maybe a little light sprain, and he's gonna have to maybe sit a game or two, but I think he'll be fine. I don't think it was broken because he wasn't just dying in pain or couldn't walk or anything like that. So really that's the big one. We're glad that it's not broken, and or hopefully it's not broken, and that he can just rest it, ice it, and then get back to playing. So.
Yeah, hope for the best. I had a softball, one of these team softball injuries, our company softball team. We were playing our big rivals or something, but me and another outfielder decided to run together. I did make the catch, though, by the way, but it kind of hit me and spun me around, and it twisted my knee, and it caused some minor cartilage damage. And it took, of course, me, a non-athlete, basically, took me a long time to get over it. An NFL lineman would probably be like a week, or probably play with it. But it did a tremendous amount of swelling, and it took a long time. But the bottom line was I've never had another problem with it and was able to get over it. So hopefully Omar is a young fellow, and well-conditioned athlete and everything, that he'll get good news and be able to continue to play.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I always tell my kids all the time about my ACL and how I spent a lot of time, sitting out for that. Injuries happen. Injuries are part of the game, and I told them, hey, don't worry about Roy City on Tuesday or Greenville on Friday. Worry about getting healthy. And I said I was sitting with him and two of his, mentor friends that he was kind of talking to after the game, and I was like, hey, you need to go home immediately and ice, and they were both saying it too, and that's what's important. Go take care of your body. I know you're a kid and you want to go, have fun and stuff, but there's moments where you got to be serious and you got to be professional. So.
And Tammy Carroll, she's been around knees and sports and all that, and so she knows, how to maximize the attention to that, and to take care of Omar like that. So we hope the best. But he's such a inspirational part of the team, seems like, and such a good goal scorer. He may be the top that you've got. So you're sure, especially on the senior year, you'd hate to see something like that happen. But so we can just, all you can do is hope for the best, and hope and get good reports, and he recovers rapidly.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's at, I think, 10 or 11 goals. He's been important for us. His speed's dangerous. We get a lot of coaches that come to us after games and are like, dang, that dude's really, really fast. And we're like,
he really is.
And we're like, yeah, he's got some speed. Track wants him to run whenever soccer's done, or they're always asking about him, and he's a quick guy, and he's a threat for us. But I think we'll be okay for maybe a game or two without him. We got some guys that can put the goals away. I mean, Christian and Dio scored in this game. That's 2 forwards, and then we have Angel and Dino that just came back, and so we still have some depth. And if we need to, we can bring up some JV kids. JV's been winning all their games by a lot of goals. They got some goal scorers in that group.
Yeah.
And if we need to, we can pull them up and give them an opportunity as well. So.
Yeah, you've got a good JV bunch. We're watching them play last night, and. And 5-0, I think they pulled off the win over Texas High, and they do have some goal scorers, very impressive guys. When you need them, they're going to be there for you. And Royce City is next, end of the first half, if you can believe it already. And it would kind of be, if after the Mount Pleasant loss, kind of be as good as you could get, to win 4 out of 5. And so you have to go over there, and but Royce City's kind of changed since last year. They had a lot of losses, I believe.
Yeah, they're a little different. They had a huge senior class last year. We were at their senior night. Our second to last game, or our last game was their senior night. And it was just forever. I mean, it was like this guy, coming up next this guy, coming up next this guy. We were like, Jesus, like, how long is this taking? Like, they had 16, 17 dudes.
Wow, that is a big
it was
number.
A lot. It was huge.
Like Greenville almost.
It was huge.
Whole roster.
And we were just like, God, this is never ending. And, and a couple were like managers and stuff. And then one kid was a junior that was losing his eligibility. Because he already, he ran out of time. He was too old, so they treated him like a senior, let him walk senior night. But even still, I mean, 14, 15 guys, and so they're kind of, they're kind of in a rebuild. They're a lot like Greenville, kind of in a rebuild, and they're going to be young. But the more you move into the Metroplex, the more people are going to be talented. So the closer you get to the Metroplex, there's going to be talent in the group. How well they're organized or how well they're shaped is, up for debate. But there's going to be talent in the group. There's going to be good players, solid players. So we got to stay focused and organized and hopefully get to that 4-1 that we need, because, we're still just chasing Mount Pleasant. And this is kind of where we thought we'd be, 4-1, maybe you lose to Mount Pleasant once, maybe you beat them once, maybe you get a little bit of them this year. So, we're right where we belong. And, I keep looking at your paper because, I see 9-5-5, and I think to myself, a win on Tuesday makes us 10-5-5, and we only got 10 wins last year. So we have a chance to get upwards of 15, 16, 17 wins this year. So that makes me feel really happy that we've had a 5-6 year win growth. That's what I want to see. Is I want to see us developing and getting better records and playing better, and all of those things. So.
Yeah, as a pursuing team. That you're always looking to make that second match mean something, where you come in there with just one loss and they've got no losses, and you're playing for something then, and once again, such a thin margin, you lose 1-0. You mentioned you had chances, so why not go over there? That would be outstanding.
Yeah.
It is also, we haven't beaten them since 06. It's been 06 since we won over there. That's a very, very tough place to play, always has been.
Yeah, and I think the really cool thing about our kids post that game last week was, they all looked at each other and they were all like, hey, we can beat those guys. We played better. We looked better. And I think we did. Without bias. I thought they looked really well. I thought it was a relatively even game. But I'd probably tell us 60-40 us. And I thought we looked really well and had some better quality chances. And our kids looked at each other and they were like, hey, this can be the year. And so that was what was great. Was post the loss, our kids still saw a lot of optimism and saw a lot of ability to go take the district. So, that really, I think that's a real growth change in us in the 2 years that I've been here. Because when I first got here, it was like, oh, Mount Pleasant, no chance. And now we're getting to where it's like, hey, we're within grabbing distance of it. And so, that's what makes me really happy to see. So.
All right, very good, Coach. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time. And,
yes, sir.
Enjoyed doing the game last night. It was fun to watch your team. This is the first time that we've done a game this year, and I guess I haven't seen them since you scrimmaged.
Yeah.
It looked awfully good back then, but you could see they're really coming along now. So it was a pleasure to do the game.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all.
All right, let's call it quits for this Saturday morning, and we always thank everybody tuning in. We appreciate Clark Cipoletta and also Alexi Upton, and we'll be back next week with another show. I'm Don Julian. So long, everybody.